female opera singer goes to the doctors, you see, and he goes, ding, next please, and in she walks. He says, okay, what can I do for you all? She says, well, it's a little bit embarrassing, doctor. I said, don't worry, I'm a doctor, you know, I've seen everything. Well, she says, when I hit a high note and I fart loudly. He said, oh dear, that's a shame, isn't it? He said, well, can you give us a demonstration of what's going on? So anyway, she starts singing and bloody hell, she's farting like anything. He said, oh dear. He said, well, I think the best thing you can do, he said, you'll have to strip off, he said, and lay on the examination couch. He said, and I'll have to sort of look into this further. So anyway, she strips off, lays on the examination couch, and there she is, sort of laying back. And he said, well, continues to sing, and she's singing away, and all that sort of stuff. And he said, oh, hang on, he said, excuse me one moment. So he walks out, and he comes back again. This long pole with a hook on the end. She said, doctor, you're not, are you? He said, no, he said, I'm going to open the windows, a bleeding terrible smelling here. That's a terrible one. Evening, folks, and bloody hell, sounds like got heavy breathing on here. It's just an obscene phone call or something, you know. Got it. Anyway, tonight we got the winged jabber, and he's in his full bloody uniform. Hey! That's the Falcon salute, isn't it?
Yeah.
Stand to attention, fingers up, nose, now, twist.
Yes. I'm trying to add a serious air to the show this evening, as you can see, dressed up in all the my Fulham Hall Defence Minister uniform. So
you certainly are. Yes, you look a fault smeller tonight, you know. Very smart. Sorry.
Taking it massively seriously. Cheers, all.
Cheers. And we've also got His Royal Hanorak, Fulham Minister of Transport. So, good evening.
Good evening all. Good evening, all the listeners there. I'm currently drinking a bottle of Highland Springs. I'm not quite as exotic as yours, Steve, but it's probably got the same chemicals in it, though.
But you like Guinness as well. I like Guinness. It's something nice on a summer's day to have a Guinness. There's something about Guinness that's got its unique thing. But
I think it's the fluoride.
Yes, it's
allegedly.
Allegedly, that's right. Well, Steve came on. I said I should have worn my bloody jacket, shouldn't I? My M65. So here's a quick picture of my M65. Here it comes. Here I am in the field.
Oh, yes.
With my as an M65. Austrian Army Surplus. Notice the badge on the corner there, and hasn't got the Focken badge on the other side. But using my homemade cooker. Made from 2 Coke cans.
What's the thing on the left? Looks like a body in a bag.
Well, it's funny you should say that. And my case comes up next week.
We look pleased to see you anyway. Whatever you want.
Well, anyway, first of all, I've got a call out to do. It's thanks to Sue. Hello, Sue. Hey! And Sue kindly made a beautiful contributions to the Buy Me a Coffee. So thanks, Sue. That's great. It's much appreciated. It's nice to hear from you again. I hope you're keeping well and all that. I hope you're back on your bike as well. I'm afraid that I'm just a fair weather cyclist, and I was going to go out on my bike, and I thought, no, too bleeding cold, so I didn't. Right, so Nathan will be joining us later, and as I said before the show started, he's got a note from his parents because he's late, so we're okay. Shall we have a quick whizzing chat and have a quick look? So who's the first one in?
Yes,
we've got our bloody King Geezer. I know it. We've got the Kingston Whittler. Good evening, fellow Fockers. Chris. The photo for the show has just made me physically sick. Yeah, it did me. It's bad, isn't it? Keir has definitely just laid a lumpy fairy, and Boris looks like he's one of the set off Dad's army. Well, do you notice Keir Starmer always looks as if he's just discovered that farts shouldn't be lumpy, hasn't he? That sort of, look. And we got some geezer, I don't know who he is. Who do you think
He's a weirdo.
Some
That guy's a
weirdo. Some weirdo that inhabits buses,
That sounds wrong in every way.
I don't know. I don't think you can outclass a weirdo that I had one. That is the one that got on and told everybody on the bus that he'd had some guts problem, and telling everybody that he's had diarrhea and going into the full quantities and quality and in the whole detail. Lovely. Greetings, Eric and Paul. That's good. And also Steve. Really enjoyed last night's show. I'm glad you did. I work on the railways in London and Greater London metro area and use the buses a lot, you poor sod. So always great to listen to you both. Yes. And now we got here. Barefoot Foreigner. Please, no buses and trains. Well, I do hope you've collected the number 37 bus number. Did you do the engine number? I know what it is. She has not got as many bus numbers as you have, Paul. That's the thing. She's envious. And we got here. Hello. Here we are. The Stephen Truth Seeker. Barefoot Foreigner says, "Oh, he's a silver fox, isn't he?" Who is? What is? You are. I'll tell you something though, Steve. That does look smart. What you got on. I could just imagine you in that.
Do you like it? Do you like my cat badge? Look, have a closer look.
Yes, it's a squirty, isn't it?
Yes. Because I'm a soldier against syringes. You get
That's
that?
Right.
SAS, soldier against syringes.
And I'll tell you something. I'm very, very honoured to have you as the head minister of defence of.
I'm only doing it for the money.
That's right. Was it 3 fuck bobs or 4? I don't know. Have you downloaded them yet?
Hey, just buy me a coffee or buy me another Guinness because this one's nearly flat.
Righto, buy your coffee and buy your Guinness. Righto. I think the football might have something to do with the piss up. There we got here Stephen Truth Seeker, first trophy in 170 years. Oh, by the way, Kingston Whitler, as you're the first one on, I forgot to mention that. When was it? Bloody Nora, 6:54. That is keen. You can have a politician of your choice okay, so any politician of your choice or celebrity, it can go into Cliff Richard's zone or anything like that. Just remember, 2 fingers. Now, what we got here? 2 fingers up to wet Commie Starmer. Well, this is Truth Seeker, but we can have Commie Starmer, but we've got Kingston Whistler has got to make a choice as well. So there we are. Nathan, now, I absolutely agree. It's bad enough having to use the bloody things. Don't want to talk about them. Moan maybe. Now we got here. And hi, Steve, Chris. This is Nathan, Steve, Chris, and Hanarak. And then we got
Nathan, sir.
An Irish coffee.
William, sir.
Sir, that's it. Sir.
Irish coffee. Cheers,
coffee.
Sir. Cheers, William.
And happy St. Patrick's Day for our Irish watchers. Hey, happy St. Patrick's Day. All right, hold on there. That's right there, yes. I'll say it slowly for you. Oh, here we come. Kingston Whitler, he says, 2 fingers up to the traitor Starmer as Zelensky, the little shit. So, that's it.
Oh, are we not fans of the illustrious leaders on this show? I'm not sure.
No.
Is Starmer?
Starmer.
Yeah. Starmer.
And Zelensky.
Yeah.
The man.
Yeah.
He's certainly got it up the nose, hasn't he? Good evening, Eric. This is Deb. Hello, Deb. And guess, remember, folks, hit the like button. Bless you. That's very kind. Share the vid. Have a great show. See you all next Monday. You lovely fuckers. Yes. And we got a super show coming up. That's pretty good. And also what's coming up soon is a chap who's a psychic.
Wow.
Well, that's going to be good. And you put your fizzog on the picture, on you. So you send me pictures of your face, and he does some psychic, whatever it is, I don't know, going on a long journey, all that stuff. The UK government has just declared war against the British people on multiple fronts. Treason, yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why I'm in uniform, because we're currently at war.
We are.
Rather, our governments are at war with us. So come on, get your body armour on, chaps.
Do you think hang on a minute. Do you think I ought to go and get my M65 jacket? I'll change. And you hold the show whilst I get my M65 and my helmet.
Let's slip a few naughty words.
You right, dude? Shall I? Yeah, I'll go and get my M65.
Go for it.
Go for it. Yeah, get me M60.
And me and Paul will talk buses to keep young barefoot forager.
You'll have nobody left in your audience in a minute.
See you in a few minutes. Good idea to take me bloody headphones off.
Happy days.
That's it. Right.
Happy days.
Right. See
Be
you
quick.
in a few minutes.
Anything can happen. Hanorak, tell me about bus number 33. Is that one of your favourites?
Not really. No, I don't have a particular route I enjoy, but although that said, there are some very picturesque routes out there. Anybody from Bournemouth will know the route across to Swanage via the Sandbanks ferry, for example. That's quite an entertaining route. Open top vehicle.
Is it all about the route or is it about the buses?
Mixture. I like older vehicles, ones that make a bit of noise and chuck a bit of fog out of the back. Stuff like stuff that pollutes the air. You know what I mean?
Well, it'd be interesting to know what your favourite bus type is.
Well, my fictitious name on Rumble is Dennis Falcon, which is a make and model of bus. That's what got my interest in buses years ago.
What's that I can hear? Is that Holly putting a complaint?
We're down to -1 listeners now, is that right?
Hey, we all love buses. What would we do without them? I mean, you can't move from district to district without your buses nowadays.
They have their moments. I wouldn't want to use them every day for work, let's put it that way, but as a hobby, they're all right. You can't choose who gets on them, unfortunately, and that's part of the challenge. And I guess it's not the vehicles that are the problem, it's some of the people that get on them. And even down to things like the drivers. Some of the drivers are right miserable gits, and others are really pleasant and positive and decent. It's all walks of life. And
look at this. Eric's got the full military garb on. I'm liking it. Your country needs you.
Yes, I suffer from a disease, though. It's called cowardice. Right, how's that then? With the, hang on a minute, with the Austrian logo on there, mate. That's
Love it.
Yeah. That's it. Oh, hang on. Got to have my still helmet. There's my still helmet. Oh.
Yeah. That's what we all need. That'll protect us from government flack.
That's it. Actually, this is a bullshit protector, you see. So Keir Starmer comes out with it, and the bullshit just reflects backwards,
If I just put this on now, I thought there was a bird hatching for a second there.
Actually, they're bloody good, these M65 jackets. Do they use them in the British Army, M65s, or is it just sort of Americans and Australians?
It's only cool cats wear them. No, the British Army hasn't got M65 jackets.
It's any plonkers like me that go to the army surplus shop and buy them.
Can it be a bit of army surplus? That's all I wear.
Yeah, it's good. It is.
It's robust and cheap.
Well, and it's bloody good quality as well. That's it. Because I wear this on my bike. Because when you're cycling on the bike, you get all the shit thrown up at you. So, so I wear black trousers so I don't get shit. So it doesn't show all the shit that's thrown up at me. And this. that's a sort of ship reflectors.
How far do you cycle then, Chris? Because when I used to go, when I was with my ex-partner, we used to go on the bike rides and stuff like that. We'd do 20 or 25 miles and
Bloody
winter
hell.
and whatever. And even in the middle of winter, not necessarily if there was snow on the ground, but if it was a clear, cold day, we're going, you see him warm up. And
Well, yeah, but I live on top of a hill, so I have to go for about 20 minutes. So I don't use much energy because I'm going downhill all the time. It's on the way back you get warmed up. It's not going, so you get let's put it this way: you get icicles on your ghoulies. You know, what I mean, so bloody cold. You know, but I love cycling, and also I mean. Sometimes I can actually get to the town quicker than my car or a bus. Well, no, you always go a bit quicker than a bus. You get there in half the time than a bus. But no, it's cycling very, very good. I love cycling, you know. But I'm a fair weather cyclist, and that's it. But I might be getting an all aluminium one.
Wow.
A Peugeot.
Not an electric one.
No, that's for Nancy boys. That is. I mean, I don't have electric. No, and I have a real bike. No, actually, my neighbour might flog me a Peugeot, and this is all aluminium, very, very lightweight. It goes like a rocket apparently. So,
yeah.
Oh yeah. Drop handlebars a lot. You know, but
Have you ever cycled 33 miles?
No. The furthest I go to is when I go and see Miles. That's 10-mile round trip, and afterwards I have what is called a medical condition called BSA. You know what that is? Bloody sore arse.
you need to put a saddle on your bike. That's where the problem lies.
I've got one of these saddles with there's like a hole in the middle. It's supposed to be aerodynamic or something, but no.
That's so that when you fart, it doesn't make a noise. Because saddles are renowned for making loud farts.
But no, I've got this thing about it, but I like the freedom of cycling. I really do. Yeah, but because the army used to have a cycling brigade, didn't they? In between the First and Second World War, had all these blokes on push bikes.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they had that. Yeah, they did have. But do you have to buy your own kit now? I've heard that you have to buy your own kit and your own sort
in
of.
the army?
Yeah.
Unless things have changed in the last couple of years, I don't think so. I haven't said that. I've obviously spent a fortune on kit because there's always something you want, whether it's a more comfortable pair of boots or some cool gadget. Yeah. Because,
I mean, I got a pair of Altbergs, and they're supposed to be the creme de la creme, but I'll be straight with you, I don't go much on them. I mean, because they were the choice of the army, but I don't know, because I thought, well, because they chose them, they must be pretty good. But I found them, I probably haven't worn them in properly, but bloody Nora, they're
I've got a few pairs. I mean, I think they're a good pair of boots, but
yeah,
if they don't fit right and they're not comfortable, so maybe try a different brand.
Yes, there is another. I like the German ones; they're pretty good, but the trouble is they're bleeding expensive. That's the problem, you know. And but the thing is that what I do now, I wear barefoot shoes, you know, flat shoes. So I don't really have much call for them. So I wear them on me when I'm on my bike. And again, you get all shit all thrown up at you, so it doesn't really matter when you get them on the bike.
Well, I think it's going to be cold tomorrow, so wrap up warm if you're on your bike.
Oh, bloody hell, yeah, I say, yes. So now tonight, Declassified. Now, I haven't signed the Official Secrets Act, but I can come out with something that is classified still. Seriously. I used to work... Well, I did a project with London Underground, and it was 96 stations, and after the King's Cross fire... they had to upgrade all the London Underground stations to the new regs. That's right. And the thing is that, right, here it comes now. Because I haven't signed the Official Secrets Act, I can actually come out with these things. And I don't think I'll get a knock on the door tomorrow. But did you know the King's Cross fire? there was sprinkler systems in King's Cross, so that if there was a fire, the sprinklers would switch on and quell the fire. But it didn't happen, and the sprinkler systems didn't go wrong. And what actually did happen is because the government cut back with pumping out sewage and that from the old-fashioned sewage systems sort of near the underground, there was a build-up of methane, and a spark happened, and a fireball went up the escalator and vaporised not only people, but vaporised the sprinkler systems. That's what really happened. I don't know that for a fact, but they didn't. They still haven't announced it. Now the other thing is that so that's one little thing. So MI5, I mean, on my door tomorrow, and the other one was I went into a meeting and I sat down and the bloke got a London Underground map out, because what we had to do, we had to redesign the stations to incorporate the new fire regulations, and it's a nice little learner it was. So, and trouble is that it's so technical. I mean, the redesigning of these stations was a headache. Anyway, on with the story. I was sitting in the meeting, and a map came out, and I opened it up, and I looked at it. Well, that's interesting. And he said to me, and trouble is, honest Chris, I shouldn't have been honest. I kicked myself for being honest. He said, "Oh, you've signed the Official Secrets Act, haven't you?" I said, "No." I should have just said, no. And he went, "Oh," quickly through. But what I did notice was the tube line that went under Buckingham Palace, number one, and it also went up to somewhere near Harlow, and there's an underground tunnel that goes up there, where Queenie would have been taken away to, because we think that the royals would be if they had to leave quickly, they'd go from Northolt. No, they would go from this airfield that's near Harlow, which I can't think of the bleeding name of, but they'd go from there. So I saw it, and it went, oh. Panicked. I thought the bastard locked the drawer, so I couldn't go there afterwards and find out what it was. But and that's it really. And I've also got a spy camera. Oh. So if you just bear with me a few moments, if you'd like to carry on for a few minutes, it's just.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm gonna add a little bit of spice to the King's Cross fire. And God rest their souls, the unfortunate victims of that incident. And now, if you have a look, I think it was 31 victims, which I'm quite surprised, because usually there's 33 victims on things like that, especially, and here's the crunch. King's Cross fire was 1987. It was on the 18th of November. Now, why is that interesting or important? I'll tell you. Say again?
I know what you're going to say, but I've just had a look at it myself as well.
All right. Well, the reason why it's interesting is because it is International Occult Day, the 322nd day of the year. Yep. The very same day that the Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Bavarian Illuminati, he was either born or died on that day. I can't remember off the top of my head. But National Occult Day, day 322, and obviously, and I'll probably mention that number and why it's significant later on in tonight's proceedings.
Oh, now as we go on, here it is. It's a Minox camera. You can't get the film for it. We used to be able to, and it's an old 1960s Minox, and this is what all the spies used to have.
Wow, that's very sexy.
And you go like that, and you take pictures of microfilm. It's got special film that you use for it, but that's all the workings of it. And I got this from Dave Starbuck, and he had one that had the name of a CIA operative on it. Yeah, I don't know what happened to it, but there it is. And the way you take a picture, you go click like that and close. But it's pointless because you can't get that. Well, it'd be very expensive. What's the point of getting roll film camera? They've got actual they got digital now, which is much smaller than these cameras. But this is the original. I think it's a collector's piece, but there it is. It's a proper Minix. There.
I have to laugh if somebody had a camera like that and it had the CIA guy's name on it. He couldn't have been a very good spy. Imagine if he left it somewhere.
I know.
Hello, does anyone know Mr. Such and Such? He's left his spy camera.
Mr. Santo, he's left his spy camera here. There's some secret microfilm on it.
It's funny in King's Cross lost property department alongside the moon landing footage that NASA apparently lost.
Well,
Yeah.
but did you? Now I must ask you, in your army training, you see, what did they tell you this? If you did someone in, you see, and you got a body, you want to get rid of it. Would you actually send it by DHL, and then you'd never see it again? You dress it to yourself, and you just post it off. You see, you'd never see the body again. So that's one top tip for murderers. You see, or if you bump someone off, send the body to yourself by DHL, and it just completely disappear.
It could be a lot worse. It could be the guys that Amazon used to use. Amazon use. You probably find the body on the top of it on your roof.
But no, it's surprising, isn't it? What you're saying about King's Cross, how it all seems to add up. But again, I don't think they've ever, I mean, it doesn't really matter now. It was a long time ago, but and the real reason they stopped smoking down in the underground was really because of the methane build-up. You might get another explosion. I don't know, because that's and the other.
A lot of the London Underground stations still had the escalators were still made of wood, or the panels were, and they were deemed as highly flammable. But of course, as we know, that was day 322 of the year. That I would suggest, that, as Steve will know, it was probably more intended rather than an accident.
Yes. There's
In the
every
same way,
possibility.
there's two ships that crashed that were deliberately hit in the North Sea last week sometime on the 10th. I looked into that. That was all linked to, it was day 103, which is a highly satanic day for them. Even down to the names of the two ships linked to ritual killing and all the rest of it. It was all linked. Every bit of it's, they're all planned. All these accidents and so on, they're not accidents. They happen because they want them to happen.
That's right. Yes. By the way, I like your spot on there. I like your name, but I can't read it out obviously because we're on YouTube. The Winged something. Very good.
Right.
Yes, I like that. And by the way, Aunt Sally. Evening, folks. I'm late and will take a spanking as punishment if that's okay. Yes. I'll see you at Miles.
You've been a very naughty girl.
Naughty girl, yes, that's it. We'll give you a good spanking. And what's Bedred to the Skepbook says brown underpants. What are you talking about, Keir Starmer? But
I don't
hang on.
Because I'm a commando.
Oh, it's he said, I rather fancy the Winged in his uniform. He looks very dapper and authoritarian.
Thanks, Aunt Sally.
Yes. And see, now I'll give some top tips what to do on the battlefield if under attack, and my advice from the head of Fockham, and that is run. Panic.
Which way?
Yes, right. Or make sure you got a big white flag.
If I'm on the battlefield, this is what I'm going to do. My plan of survival on the battlefield is run towards the enemy, because if you run towards the government, you're definitely up shit creek.
Yes, that's right. Well, did you see, I think it was Paul, the American Paul, when I was actually on Paul English show. I'm often a guest on. Well, I was a guest on his show on Thursdays, and I was linking I said the mafia and the government. I said they're as bad as my government. He said, oh, you're wrong there. He said the mafia at least look after their own, and they look after the people, their own people, the elderly and that. He said the government don't. So he said in many ways the mafia are better than the government. I think he's right. I was wrong, yeah. Because
Well, the thing is, the way our governments work and so on. I mean, like things like tax is all to do with extortion, isn't it? And if you don't pay it, then in theory you can be put in prison, and that's extortion in the same way as the mafia knocking on your door saying you're going to take our protection. You're going to pay protection when we'll kick this shit out of you. It's exactly the same situation, isn't it?
Oh, I've got a question then, Hannah, if you don't mind. Are you meant to pay tax? I thought it was voluntary.
yeah.
Apparently, it is voluntary. Yes.
All right, because I've volunteered not to pay it.
Good on
Good
you.
idea.
Ooh.
Well, you know, local council apparently, if you look it up, they're actually registered under Dun and Bradstreet. You see, and apparently they've got as much right to send you council tax as a local supermarket has to send you a bill through the post. So you've got to ask them. Say, I'm willing to pay, providing you give me a receipt of the goods and services that you provided to me, and they can't do it. And they'll keep on and on and on. So if they go to court, say, well, I'm willing to pay, but I don't want to break the law because under the, I think it's, what is it now, transaction law or something, you've got to get, before I pay this invoice, so it's not fraud, I want to see the goods and services that you're providing.
Perhaps they're ashamed or embarrassed to send a receipt. I mean, because they're spending their money on guns and bombs to kill innocent people in faraway lands on proxy wars, etc., etc. Yeah,
that's right.
They're probably embarrassed. I would be as well if I was a horrible scumbag working for the government. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got Aunt Sally fancies you, I think. The wing jelly. When you are wearing your uniform, do you go on some sort of military mode mentality, or are you over and past all that?
Oh no, as you can see, I'm the proud easy. No, completely over. I'm past all that military BS because it's farcical. It's a joke. In fact, here's the thing. I probably mentioned it, or I'll certainly give a flavour on this show before. The army needs to be completely disbanded. Anybody who's a member, serving member of the British Armed Forces needs to resign immediately and do the moral and lawful thing, which is to complain at the highest level about the criminal government and the criminal cartel in the royal family who are employing you. You work for criminals. You work for a broken, corrupt criminal cartel. The honourable thing to do is use the Nuremberg principles, to use the Geneva Convention, and to have a call for conscience. You have the honourable duty to have a call for conscience, knowing full well what these scumbags are doing to your own citizens who you have signed an oath, sworn an oath even, to serve and protect. You are not doing that. Nobody in the armed forces is honouring that oath because they're all working for criminals. That means they are de facto aiding and abetting known offenders. Every last single serving soldier. In fact, there's about 72,000 members of the British Army. Everybody in the British Army at this point in time is a criminal, aiding and abetting a criminal cartel.
Well, the thing is, the royal family aren't actually legit anyway, are they? Because, I mean, Charles, when he did his coronation oath, it was fraudulent because he's in bed with the World Economic Forum who want to imprison us all, and then his oath is there to protect UK laws. Well, that includes freedom. Well, you can't have both. You're either protecting UK laws or you're not. And he wore purple, and purple in their world is the colour of deception. In the same way, in the same way the Queen's coffin, when that was laying in stake and people going and looking at some empty box, was shrouded in purple. And that was, again, because she wasn't in there. She'd been dead for years. The Queen that...
Well, do you know what? Legitimate or not, or bogus or not, you probably got a fair point. It's probably very accurate. Let me read you, if I may, just a very short paragraph from a statement I say a statement, a letter that I give at very high levels within the Ministry of Defence. And I hope there's servant soldiers. In fact, I hope there's anybody in the police or military listening. I hope there's people from government, Brigade 77. I hope you're all listening, because you need to have a word with yourself. Anyway, this is just a very short statement I've made, and it's relating to, let's call it, a health emergency from a few years back. I'm sure you pretty know which one it is, and I'll not mention it because we're on YouTube. But it's credible that emergency from a few years back, or a criminal act of something called hybrid warfare, information warfare, and psychological warfare. And they fall in partnership with something called cognitive warfare, which I'll touch upon later, if I may, during tonight's show. But it was deliberately aimed at the civilian population and beyond, which is it's a war crime, essentially. It could be concluded in short that measures and responses to this said emergency are representative of a crime against humanity, incorporating treason, terrorism, genocide, war crimes, and malfeasance. And it has seemingly catalyzed a totalitarian regime structure with deliberate conditioning of economic mechanisms in order to erode liberties, promote depopulation, and introduce biosurveillance technologies by stealth. So I hope that gives a little bit of a flavour of the declassified nature of this show.
Yes, it certainly does. But I taken the jacket off. And the reason why, I think I'm dishonouring you by wearing it, because you've got guts. You were in the army. I've always been a civilian. So hence the reason I think that is disrespectful of you. Hence the reason I've changed back. But no, that is... no, I mean that seriously. I think I don't want to disrespect you, because you have really got guts, because you've not only been in the front, in the sharp end, but you've stood up against people and done what is morally correct. So I admire that bravery. And but no, seriously, what you've just said, that's just sums it up. And the other thing with King Charles, he said he is the defender of faith, not the faith. He changed it. That's
well,
treason.
he needs arrested for treason immediately. So if there's any coppers listening tonight, go and do your job, losers. Arrest the king. Arrest the king, then resign.
That's right.
As well, yeah.
I mean, how do you feel? I mean, my attitude is the army and the forces should be... This country in the Victorian times had a very small army and a big navy, because we're an island. An island needs a big navy and a small army. And it worked. And we had a huge empire and ran an empire of those principles. And people took the mickey out of it because it was such a small army, but we managed to hold an entire empire.
Yeah. I understand your point there.
Why is it we're always gallivanting into other countries which have nothing to do with us? Nothing at all to do with us. First and Second World War, nothing to do with us.
Well, the thing is, you say about we need an army and a navy and all this, but ultimately, people go off to war to fight wars for the elite, although I don't like using that term. And if it wasn't for them, the general man, the man or woman in the street, we don't want wars. It's the elite that want the wars. So without them, we wouldn't need the army.
So here's one thing here's one thing that we can declassify as Fotham Hall Defence Minister. I will immediately declassify the fact that all wars are illegitimate, they're all bogus, and just as Anorak says, and rightly says, they're all designed to serve the wealthy elite, the ruling elite, the billionaires and trillionaires, nothing else. If you want to put an end to war, put an end to government, wars would stop overnight. I swear to God,
Spot on.
all wars would stop overnight. as long as you eradicate government. All wars are bankers' wars, every single one of them. All the things I've been involved with, all illegitimate, all bogus, all mutual backslapping for the benefit of the ruling class. That's it. There's no such thing as a genuine, honest war. And not only
spot
that,
on. Yeah.
if anyone's familiar with the Satanic calendar, you'll see that some of these things classed as warfare fit perfectly into these Satanic ritual dates as well. So read into that what you will.
I've said before that all world wars have a 68 date numerology, so if you add the dates up for World War One, Two, and the current one, they all have 68 date numerologies. They're all picked specifically to start when they do. And in particular, the current one it started on the 24th of February 2022, I think it was, and which is 224, and Ukraine-Russia war equals 224. So again, if people look at that and think it started that day by coincidence, it didn't. It was they started that day because they wanted it to, and they know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing.
Oh yeah, that's right. But people generally though are very nice. Ordinary folk on the ground are very nice. I found. Wherever you
Just
go,
want to live free and be
Just
left
so-
to it.
you're gonna say, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, just to elaborate on Hanorak's point, let's take, well, we mentioned a date earlier. Excuse me, it was the 18th of November, which is the 322nd day of the year, known as International Occult Day. That was a date that JFK sent advisors into Vietnam. But if we look into another date, again, using that same number, because I'd imagine many people listening in tonight are familiar with the number 322 and exactly what that means. It links to Lodge 322, which is the Skull and Bones Secret Society, of which George Bush Jr. and Sr. were members. William Taft, another US president, was a member. Very important and wealthy, influential people have been members of Lodge 322, the Skull and Bones, a satanic secret society. Anyway, that links to a date in the calendar, the Satanic calendar, known as the Satanic Season of Sacrifice. 322 relates to March the 22nd, the vernal equinox. It's vitally important to anybody especially in occult groups, especially dark occult groups such as Skull and Bones. Look at the history of what's been conducted on that day, that particular day. Just recently, or the year or two ago, we had Crocus City in Russia, terrorist attack. We've had the Westminster Bridge attack, the Belgian bomb. Now, if you have a look at various acts of warfare, well, we had the US invasion of Libya on March the 22nd. We also had the Iraq War shock and awe campaign, which coincided with that very specific period of time, the Satanic Season of Sacrifice. Just one other thing I'll mention before I stop speaking. March the 22nd was also the very specific date that Boris Johnson, aka Bojo the Clown, announced to the UK population to lock themselves down because of a health emergency.
Yes, quite interesting. And now we've got a question here from That's Life, but not as we know it. I think I know what your answer is going to be, but I was going to ask Steve before, what would he do if the army recalled him?
Well, I don't know if I can use the F word on YouTube, but that's the word I'd use. But other than that, they will never, ever re-employ me ever again. I've not been dishonorably discharged, but I was facing gross misconduct charges for speaking out publicly and basically submitting, that paragraph I read before, that was part of quite a lengthy document I gave to the Ministry of Defence exposing an act of cognitive warfare and a psychological operation which is still ongoing by the British government who are acting in collaboration with various other non-governmental organizations and beyond. Criminally aligned partnerships with people like the World Health Organization. So speaking out publicly basically didn't do very well for my career, and they'll never ever re-employ me ever. And not only that, I would never ever want to serve with a bunch of criminals who can't even defend their own country when it's under a huge scale act of aggression by its own government. Shame on the British Army, and shame on the people who I've personally spoken to who are still doing nothing about it. They frankly are a bunch of cowards. That's what I'd say.
And that,
Yeah.
the folding stuff. But when you look at it, Steve, you're spot on. You're absolutely spot on with what you're saying. And what annoys me is that the government still carry on. They're genius at propaganda. They're absolute genius at it. And but now we got here. Was it now we have smartphones? Yeah, but did I tell you I was told to take all German names off my smartphone? Yeah,
No.
and now it's completely hands free. Sorry. And I think Nathan summed it up, and he said, "I think the answer from Steve would definitely be with the end of the word off." Yes.
Yeah, that would be the short answer.
And I suspect the first word would be a very similar thing you use with a knife and fork.
Yeah.
Fork, yes, but really, it's quite amazing. By the way, is it right that you can tell a country by the army by the camouflage, because each camouflage is different? Am I right in that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
More or less.
Because
The one I'm wearing now is something called MTP, which is quite very similar to what the Americans wear and various other European countries are wearing now. So it's quite hard to spot.
Well, but Dad said that during the war, on the hillside just after D-Day, they captured some German prisoners. And you couldn't see the Germans, he said, at all. But the English blokes stood out like a sore thumb with their khaki. He said the German camouflage was bloody good. He said their field grey really blended with the Normandy countryside.
Yeah.
But the khaki didn't. And he said, but now what have we got here? Oh, here we are. It says here, that camera was used on the film set of The Spy Who Shagged Me. Was it really? Yeah, Minox. I mean, I don't know if it's worth anything. I mean, you can't use it. Well, I suppose you could do now if you had the film. But, it'd be a bit smarmy. Sort of, hello, it's just one there. What do you do for a living? I'm a spy, actually. I work for the Mint. Royal Mint, yes, I'm a Mint spy, that sort of stuff. But,
we used to have a name for the CIA. We used to call them clowns in action. The CIA
really?
clowns in action, yeah.
Well, so that plonker that had his name engraved on his camera.
Yeah.
That is a bit of a Wally thing to do, isn't it? They were worth a lot of money though years ago. I mean, in the 60s,
everybody thinks they're cool because they've seen all these films on the TV, and they're obviously awesome, and they can do ninjutsu, and they can all abseil and parachute. Really, they're a bunch of dorks. So take that, CIA. You're a bunch of dorks.
And you need to have your own name written on your own camera.
That's right.
Exactly.
And I bet they tuck their shirt into their underpants. That's the sort of blokes they are. And the other one is when they've got their gloves on, they have a bit of string between each glove so they don't lose it. That's the ones.
I was speaking of underpants. I was saying earlier I don't wear underpants because I'm a commando.
We're your commando size. Now we got here. What are we? We got here. It says I got that climate book behind you, Steve. It's massive.
Which
one?
Yes. This one.
This one. Or you might be talking about.
Oh,
You might be talking about that one. And there's a new one out. Oh yes,
this
hang
is
on.
a good book.
It's a very good book. Can I be smarmy?
Yeah.
I just want to be a bit smarmy. Last week it was Handle This. This week I've heralded the bastard on.
Wow.
You notice I'm not holding the handle, I'm holding the cup. And there's my whole reason. The blatant thing.
One tasted level there.
So here we go.
Nathan will be happy. Well, while you're advertising that, I'm going to advertise this. So I would, if there's anybody in Brigade 77 watching, read this, you bunch of losers, you complete nerds. Read books. In fact, it's over 1,000 pages long. I'm going to guess that's by Carol Quigley.
Wow.
Tragedy and Hope. You got to get that here.
And also, the book, which is quite incredible, is War is a Racket by General Smedley Butler.
Yeah,
I'm sure that if he reincarnated today, you and him would be best mates. I can guarantee it.
So I'm going to salute Smedley Butler because everybody in the army, in the British forces, and in fact, every army in the entire world needs to look up Smedley Butler and see what he's got to say. War is a racket. I will completely agree with that gentleman, Smedley Butler. He realised war is a racket. I realise war is a racket, and I'm openly declaring that to be true. Declassified from the fucking old defence minister, all wars are a racket. If anyone thinks otherwise, you are a buffoon. You're wrong. You're completely misguided. You don't know enough. You need to educate yourself. War is a complete racket. Not only that, I'm also going to endorse another fine gentleman who, I don't know if he was a soldier against syringes, but he wore a very similar coloured beret to me. He's called Ben Griffin. So Ben Griffin, I'm going to salute you. Well done. You threw your medals outside Parliament and told them to go and do one years ago, realising that the Iraq war was completely illegitimate. Hats off to you, mate. You're a legend. The world needs to look into Ben Griffin and see what he's all about and what he stood for. Another servant soldier, a special forces soldier who done the honourable thing.
That's right. And what got me about the Iraq War, I'm not sure it's the first or second one. I think it's the first one. Was it a cruise missile or some missile went down into a bunker where there were civilians, and it was not a military target at all, and killed lots of innocent elderly men, women and children. There's innocent civilians got killed, and Blair was responsible for it. So it must have been the first one, I think. And I was very, very upset about that because, now a Barefoot Foreigner says, no buses tonight, but we can have a special bus show, especially for you, Barefoot Forager, where you and Hanarak can talk about the 251 bus, and we might show some erotic pictures of buses. So there we go. Now we got here Top Man Steve. That's life but not as we know it.
Cheers,
William. All the killing over stuff. And there's a chap on YouTube who's very interesting. He's ex-army. And he was talking about the shot at dawn. Poor sod that was shot at dawn in the First World War when they were suffering from shell shock. There wasn't cowardice at all. And there was one boy, he wasn't a man, a boy of 17 who they shot. And he said the terrible thing about it was they would select chaps from his own unit at random, and they had to do the nasty deed of shooting him, because what they did, they would actually put blanks to hand their rifles in. I guess you know all about this. Hand the rifles in, and only a few rifles would be loaded with live. But he said, and this is what my dad said as well, and you obviously know as well, you know the difference between a blank and a live, because it's got a different kick to it.
Yeah, everything about it's different.
But the sick thing was, he said, imagine these chaps, there's a mate of theirs standing in front of them. They'd be shaking, they'd be nervous, they would miss, and if they missed and they didn't kill him, the officer had to finish him off with his rifle, with his sort of handgun, rather, not rifle. And it wasn't abolished in the British Army until 1930. They abolished it. But in
Do you know?
apparently, yeah.
Let me just add to that by saying, essentially, this is what happens when you become an order follower who can't question anything. If you can't use this and apply critical thinking, and all you do is you follow instructions to the letter, you are literally a mind-controlled lunatic order following numpty. And this is what happens. I was one of them, an order following numpty. I'm quite happy to declare it to the world and to say I was completely wrong and misguided because I fell for misleading narratives, just like many other people in the army, in the forces, and the police around the world are doing right now. We can't use that as an excuse anymore. Do you know what? I can legitimize that understanding from World War II, perhaps, and from perhaps subsequent campaigns. But now, in 2025, with the amount of information that's out there in circulation, the amount of knowledge that's available publicly and easily and readily digestible for anybody to see, even with a low IQ and a low mentality, young and immature people in the cadets can get this. All wars are immoral, illegitimate, and ungodly. Anybody who's serving for them needs to really, really start doing some research so they can come to a full understanding. And if you're not talking like I am, and it's taken me a long time, and I fully understand anybody who's maybe can't understand my point of view. I really can understand it. If you can't come to my understanding, you ain't done enough research, and you need to educate yourself. So that's all I can say on that.
Well, I mean, the thing is, though, Steve, is that when was there a time when was there a time when something just clicked in your mind? Because I've had that sort of. I think we've all had a eureka moment. I mean, same with his Royal Hanorach. We've all had that time when something goes click, and you think, "Hang on a minute, hold on," and suddenly it's like a jigsaw puzzle. The parts start to fit together, and you can see a picture, and you think,
Well, sometimes it's questioning everything, and I know we go on to many different subjects here, and I question absolutely everything now, and not just what went on a few years ago, and everything about it, what goes on in the world, even down to things like accidents, and as Steve knows with the gematria, things. How many accidents that get reported, are they actually accidents, or are they deliberately taking place? Because, and I'm sorry, this is going to be a quick train thing. I was just looking at the there was a massive train crash at Acton Grange Junction back in 1966 with a Class 40 locomotive on the front, and the locomotive that was smashed up was D322, which, with what you understand and what I understand about the numerology, would you say that locomotive was in an accident? Would you say it was picked or even controlled to be in that accident?
Do you know my response to that might sound a little bit, kind of crazy, even probably very crazy to some people. But the universe has got a very particular way of showing the influence of creative design, shall we say. There is a huge element of creative design in the universe. Again, to the average person, this sounds completely unhinged, but this is becoming more and more prevalent now. In fact, do you know what? If I can find it, I'm gonna just quickly grab a book here. It's not in this book, but you might be familiar with that guy's name, Philip K. Dick. Philip K. Dick wrote many science fiction books and was the inspiration behind quite a lot of Hollywood blockbuster movies such as Blade Runner, Minority Report, and several other films of that nature, science fiction. He had a press conference in the 1970s. And again, you can look this up on YouTube. and he mentioned that the universe reality, our reality, is in fact a simulation, and that simulation is kind of provable and observable by some of these instances that spike. Let's just say, using things like numerology, these impossible coincidences which show their face and reveal themselves um, at a high level. So that is, I think, the universe revealing its creative design.
And that seems
That's
to follow
right.
the same pattern as well. And yes, this is the bus world as well. In
Mm.
one of the operators I follow is National Express West Midlands, and they've got a batch of 50 Enviro 200s, fleet numbers 2201 to 2250, and the first vehicle caught fire from an apparent electrical fault last month, and its fleet number was 2220. Now, if you drop the zero, you got 222, which is a massive, massive number in there. Well,
Yeah,
Order Out of Chaos is 222. The Royal
yeah,
Family also linked to 222. And then you think, well, was this thing chosen? Or are they actually are they causing these things? Because we know vehicles now can drive themselves, basically. They don't need they don't need a driver in them. They can control themselves. And it makes you wonder how much control the powers that be have over everything. And it seems quite a lot at times.
Oh, so it might be. You see, it's funny how these things fall into place, isn't it? Everything seems to fall into place, but nature has to be, shall we say, it falls back into order. It can understand order, and that's why, for example, you trying to go against nature, it'll have its revenge on you.
yeah,
And this is why I think that this comedian, well, he's not a comedian, but Starmer, he's probably a blessing in disguise because he's skew whiffing all so much stuff that nature will kick back and kick back hard. It
yeah,
will. We won't have to do anything. Nature may not. That a positive. Our only weapon, I think, is laughter, because when you think about it, all wars have been fought not only with armies but with the hearts and minds of people. It's propaganda that get. You've got to have the people with you before you go and fight a war. But now they're the enemy. We don't know who it is, but they're fighting a war with a kind of ideological war on us. They're actually fighting our brains. They're getting to our brains. And when that was on, it shook me rigid how people fell into line. It's terrifying how they fell into line.
yeah.
Because we were in the minority. We should have been the majority, not wearing the stupid face nappies.
Yeah.
We're not even the minority. I was on my own. I went into a huge supermarket.
Yeah.
I was the only one. Nobody else. I was the only one not wearing wearing it.
Population
Yeah.
can be controlled.
Well, precisely.
It's
It's frightening.
And when we had all the lockdowns that I ignored, I remember coming back into New Street Station one day at 5:30 in the evening, on a Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever day it was, and it was just me. I had the station to myself pretty much, and it's quite a scary moment, that is, at times. You think,
Yeah.
is this what the result of our propaganda-led government have done? They can actually clear an entire, what would have been rush hour was literally one individual.
Well, I was cycling along the road. It was a cyclist holiday, it was, because there's no cars on the road, and it was sort of just after it was declared that, we all had to wear nappies and things like face nappies. No car. I was cycling, and it was like, have you seen the film Omega Man with Charlton Heston, where the camera goes back and he's driving on his car? It's in some city in America, and it's deserted. And there's a bloke. Unfortunately, the butcher's shop has closed down now, but there's a butcher standing outside his shop. He went, hello! He was so pleased to see a human being cycling along on the road. He was waving, hello, sir, hello, I thought, and it was really unnerving. It was creepy, very creepy. Cycling along where it's normally a busy road, nothing, no car behind you, nothing coming towards you. Thinking,
Well, what's happened really? What you're talking about there is this act of warfare is known as cognitive warfare. So this is one thing. Another thing I'm going to disclose this evening, cognitive warfare. This isn't a secret. This is open source information, but it is imperative that people, as many people as possible, understand what this is, because this is essentially what's being driven against humanity at the minute. So let me give you a little bit of a heads up on what cognitive warfare actually is. It's a strategy that focuses on altering how a target population, let's say the population, target population or group, think and how it acts. So how it thinks and how it acts. Remember, how a person thinks ultimately is the basis of how that person reacts in reality. So how it thinks and how it acts. It's the weaponization of public opinion, and it's by an external entity, and in this occasion it happens to be world governments. So world governments are acting upon the civilian population to change the way they think and ultimately act. And the purpose of this is to influence the public with governmental policy, to destabilize institutions, and they have obviously a reason for doing this. And you could probably just highlight by saying, well, they want to implement the New World Order. This is how it's done. It's done through cognitive warfare. This is an act of aggression by hostile governments using known and demonstrably proven techniques to influence people's judgments. This is what's happening to members of the UK population, to civilians. Why are you not getting irate? Why is nobody complaining?
Spot on. Spot on. You're
Is
speaking
it
from the heart there.
Is it fair to say that many people have been dumbed down, and we're dumbed down from the second we step into a school, aren't we? At the age of whatever age, we're led to listen to authority and all this sort of stuff. And it's only when you get back out into the real world and something serious happens and you realise actually everything we've told is a lie. And
Yeah.
all the, like I say, going back to the wars, we know that wars are, we're told it's one thing, but it's actually something else. I mean, was it World War One or Two where they were destroying all the bells and all the old world buildings, which
World War Two.
we used to heal us and
Mm.
help improve how we felt.
That's
and
right.
unlike the crap we get now, which is completely horrible towns and cities to walk through, they're all look the same.
Well, it's Beaverbrook. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut in there. Please carry on.
No, I was just saying that, and it seems that, like with the Iraq wars, that was all about getting the oil and bringing in more restrictions for us to travel and that sort of thing. Like 9/11 was to do with, it wasn't to do with the buildings because that was a controlled demolition, but on the back of that, it was so they could bring in more restrictions at airports, so they could do even more searches, so they can basically infringe on our freedoms, basically. And that's what my
Spot
feeling
on.
is. That's what all these wars have been about. They
Well,
all have been.
during World War Two, it was Beaverbrook who said that to get the population working together, they collected all the iron up, and they said that it was to go into the Spitfire, and and wanted people to pull up all their railings and things like this. And there's beautiful Victorian railings which were supposed to have been melted down, but that cast iron was completely useless for aircraft production. And apparently there's a huge, great pit somewhere up north where they've all been buried. They're never used. And this is look. Remember that NHS clapping outside the door? Where we go, like bleeding, performing seals. There was a neighbour of mine that was doing it, and it was just bonkers. It really was. But it's to get everybody into like a wolf pack mindset. That is the thing.
Yeah.
But
well, this is one thing that we know the ruling elite are experts at understanding the psychological aspects of the human mind. The human psyche is one of the subjects, or one of the main aspects of a topic called the occult, which is something I kind of help to educate people in. If they understand occultism, they'll understand how the human mind works. they'll understand how it can be ravaged by certain techniques and influences. And again, the human population, the civilian population of this world is essentially the modern battlefield. We are the modern battlefield to dark occultists who are using psychological warfare upon us. We need to know this. We need to know how this works. We need to also know how to combat it.
Well, the First World War was a perfect example. I mean, they had the white feather campaign, not poppy. And what that was is any man that was seen who was of military age in civilian clothing, a woman would go over and give him a white feather as if he was a coward. And that was started by the government. And there were some people that may have been in the merchant navy that wouldn't be in the uniform. And I know somebody whose father during World War II was in the merchant navy, and he'd been on the Atlantic convoys and gone through absolute hell. Went into a pub when his ship docked. He was in his civilian unit outfit, clothes, and a woman spat at him.
Wow, shocking, isn't it?
He'd been through. He'd seen hell and back, on the Atlantic convoys. But no, the First World War, they were very advanced then, very, very advanced, because by 1914 there'd been 20 years of newspaper anti-German propaganda. So by 1914, August 1914, people were absolutely chomping at the bit to have a go at the Hun.
Yeah.
And that was very skillful propaganda in those days. And as we've got more technology like the internet, there's television first, was film. Then there was, because they had silent films during the First World War, but it wasn't that advanced. But in the Second World War, we had film. Then afterwards, you had television. Vietnam was a television war. And then we've got the internet. And have you noticed, if you look at Facebook and things like that, there's adverts coming on, I have them coming on, showing you how marvellous Ukraine is.
Yeah. I'm not on Facebook, but I can imagine. I mean, let's just pick up a word that you used there, propaganda. We've all heard of MI5, we've probably heard of MI6, but not many people know who MI7 are. Well, that's the BBC. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on YouTube, but propaganda, that's what's being fed on a daily basis to pretty much everybody on the planet. I mean, I stopped watching, just to give an example, I literally stopped watching the television, especially anything to do with the news, over 10 years ago, because I knew, now I wasn't an expert on this 10 years ago, but I knew it was complete BS. And that I was still serving in the military, at a pretty high level, realizing that we were getting force-fed propaganda in our faces. Now we can see the results of how this works, because we've all been through the last few years and seen what absolute garbage psychological operations have been thrown on our faces. But MI7 is the propaganda wing known as the BBC, the media. So if I was to write a book called Chaos Sorcery, page 666 would actually explain how this works, how governments, and I'm going to read a little, a list out of certain things that the governments are actively employing as acts of cognitive warfare against us. Propaganda, yes, it works, and it works against us. Mass mind control, social programming, reality management, soft slavery techniques, media manipulation, the classic order out of chaos or division and tension, straight out of the Hegelian dialect, distraction, control of goods and services, and exploitation of what we could call primal fears. This is how this technique of cognitive warfare is waged against us. Essentially, what that means is you're just going about your business as a normal civilian, and you're being bombarded with BS on 24 hours of the day, all the time, and it's changing and altering the way we perceive reality. So we're living in an illusion, and if our thoughts are not in the right place, well, we can't follow that up with correct action. So that's why we are massively losing to a bunch of criminal-minded psychopaths.
Yes, I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. Spot right on. And what gets me, though, is war has always been made to look exciting, romantic, and fantastic. You know, and you look at these propaganda films. I'm very interested in propaganda and films because they're funny. And you look back on it. I mean, like as posters, you know, you can now join. You can now go get to the front at the age 17. It's exciting, fantastic. And the attitude during World War One was that the enemy are not going to fire at you because we've got some of the most advanced weapons in the world. You won't get anything come near you. You know, it's. And I know that it was the Second World War. People laughed at people when they said, "Well, we might get bombed." No, we've got such an incredible defence. Not one aeroplane would be able to get to London. Wouldn't even be able to get across the Channel. What alone London? Don't be stupid. London will never get bombed. Well, it was. And this is the thing, propaganda. But Barefoot Foreigner has said 30th of April is next big Satanic Sabbat. But they love the power of Equinox Thursday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
So 322 is coming right up in a few days' time. I can guarantee there'll be something happening in the world, something dramatic, probably on that very date. And the reason I'm saying that is because it pretty much always has year after year. Yeah. So 322, March the 22nd, Red Letter Day, stick it in your diaries. And if you're not familiar, have a look on to an open source search for events that have happened, especially in the last few years, on that very particular day, the Satanic season of sacrifice.
One very important date that my I'm not Scottish, but I happen to like haggis. My haggis expires on the 21st of March, and that goes past its sell-by date. So that might be significant. You never know. You know, I might eat it on the 22nd. That's it. Woodland camo is the best. That's Stephen Truthseeker.
Oh, yeah. US Woodland camo. That's a classic.
Yes. Whoa. And we got here, the CIA wouldn't be able to survive out in the field, Stephen Truthseeker. And that book that you showed said that book is rare. But Smedley Butler's book is available, last time I looked, I don't know if it still is, free to download off the internet. Yeah. I think it's still free.
Yeah.
Now, Barefoot Foreigners is 1,000 pages, probably still shorter than yours and Nathan's book. Yes.
This one? You mean this one?
Yes, that's it. Wee. And he's got a new one, hasn't he? He's got a new one out.
Yeah,
that's it. Now, we got here, what is it? Ben Griffin, SAS.
Yeah, that's the fella. Google that fella and see what he's all about.
Now, this is a good one. Jojo Gizmo said, when I watched this video last week, Chris the gardener said to plant some bulbs in March, so I did. Just wondering how long I will have to wait for them to light up. Right, hang on.
Well, March is the start of the growing season. That's when you start to plant all your new seeds. This is why March the 22nd is the time for their sacrificial rituals, because they work in partnership with nature. Satanists work in partnership with nature.
They certainly do. I mean, I got my tomato seeds in before Friday because that was the full moon, and that's the time to plant. That was a good time. And up to then, and I've got to wait for a little while before I can plant any more seeds, you know, because I like to do planting by the moon. Now, Aunt Sally. Hello, Aunt Sally. And by the way, are you in or out of the bath at the moment? Because you're normally in the bath. Aunt Sally says with bubbles going for bubble bath. Not just a mind-controlled numpty, Steve. It also makes them murderers if they kill someone.
Yeah. I mean,
And
can I just elaborate on that? I mean,
yeah,
Aunt Sally's nailed it. She's 100% accurate in what she's saying there. So, I was a soldier in worked. I was an infantry soldier. My job description is to close with. So this is it as per the pamphlet: to close with and kill the enemy. That makes my job description a paid murderer, an assassin, a mercenary, a murderer, mass murderer for a criminal cartel who are acting unlawfully and who don't have the best interests of humankind at heart. So, what does that make me? It makes me a soul dead loser. Soul dead. That's what the word soldier is. So, if there's any soldiers watching this, the word soldier literally means soul dead. That's what you are. You've got no heart. You've got no compassion. You've got no you've not got any emotional intellect whatsoever. You become soul dead. That's why you wear dog tags, because you're an animal. That's why you've got a number, because you're not worthy of a name. That's literally how the powers that be think of you. So forget about your patriotic bullshit. I've been there, done that, wore the t-shirt. I'm still wearing the t-shirt. I couldn't give a flying crap about what anybody's patriotic sense of entitlement or otherwise tells them. You are wrong. You're an idiot. You need to. And again, I'm addressing people, my friends in the army. Even I'm addressing soldiers. Everybody in military uniform needs to hear what I'm saying. You're an idiot. You need to do some research. You need to get with the times. Stop acting like clowns. You are murderers. You're working for a bunch of criminals. Um, if your job description requires you to carry a gun and shoot other human beings, then you are a murderer. That's it.
the worst
I
thing
mean,
though is if you're conscripted to do it, you're forced to do it. That is another thing as well, because the conscripts are basically an insult to the professional army in many ways, because they've been forced into it. But I used to go to this stand in the park thing, there was a chap there from I think it was Bulgaria, and he did his national service or equivalent what it is, and he was a similar age to myself. Because national service was abolished in this country in 1960, so I never had anything to do with the army. But he had to do it, and I said to him, and it put a cold chill through his spine and mine. I said, "Do you realise that you were in the Warsaw Pact, and I'm a similar age? If there was any conflict, there would have been a battle between the Warsaw Pact and NATO. We would have had to have killed each other." Just because a government minister did, and
Yeah.
he just went. I mean, both of us went. And that is a fact, and it's a sad fact. And when you look at after war, like for example, after World War II, German and British veterans getting together,
Yeah.
it doesn't make. And we go when it's all according in how far back you go in time. It would be inconceivable now that we could go to war with Germany unless they use the propaganda.
Yeah.
But if you go back to the English Civil War, do you realise that us two would have been probably enemies, because I'm from South and you're from
Yeah.
North? And look at America. It's not that long ago, 1860, 1864, was it 65? The American Civil War, North
Yeah.
against South. Americans fighting Americans. Why?
Well,
Because they're the best of friends. They're brothers almost. When you look at Germans and English, what's the difference? I mean, our heritage is virtually the same. It's very similar.
the thing is,
you've really got.
when you look at what the military do and all that sort of stuff, they're supposed to be there to protect our freedoms, and yet, whilst they're fighting to protect our freedoms, our government are taking more and more freedoms away at every opportunity they get, changing
Yeah.
laws, changing this, changing that, and then we've got the police who are doing exactly the same. They speak to the public like crap. They're unprofessional. They're just a waste of
The,
space. We don't need them.
Both of these,
Oh.
in fact, all of these entities are completely broken now. I mean, they've got no basis in morality whatsoever. Anybody with the access to the internet can instantly or very quickly come to this same assertion that has taken me many years to realize. Bearing in mind, I've been massively brainwashed, a mind-controlled, order-following clown. That's what I am. That's what, and again, I've come out realize how this system works, and all I can do is relay what I know to be true to other people who haven't come to this conclusion. I was a soldier. We've already said the word soldier means soul dead. The word corporal, the next rank up, the next grade up in your Masonic initiation, because that's what it is. It's aligned to Masonry. The next grade up from is the two stripes. You come from one stripe to two stripes, and then you go to three stripes, the 3 degrees. First degree, soldier, lance corporal. Second degree, corporal. Corporal is a corpse, a dead entity. And then a sergeant, a senior NCO, a sergeant. Well, that word is French, a French term. It's from the French term for a servant. Why do you think all this terminology is used in the forces? Literally, we've been given dog tags because we think like dogs, because we've become animals. Let me show you another example. That's my regimental stable belt. Okay, what color is that? That's
Blue.
Masonic Blue Lodge blue. Have a look at the same color. Have a look in closer detail. That same color, I think that's upside down. That same color is used by the police, the thin blue line. That's your thin blue line, the Blue Lodge blue. This, we need to know more about masonry and how it affects some of these organizations, such as the police. I mean, look at this. I don't know what they're called. Is it the community support officers? That's what they. That's the color of their uniform.
That's strange, that, isn't it?
Well,
That
the
really is
thing
strange.
is, the police car livery is blue and yellow, which is Freemason colours, just like Ukraine's flag is blue and yellow, Freemason colours.
And the checkers, a
a
checkerboard on their caps.
Black and white,
That is Masonic.
And
Because their floor is checkers. Sorry.
Well, when they showed that with the Queen's coffin, when they moved it to Westminster Abbey, that was the floor of that was black and white checkered floor, but the angle of the camera was it was basically an upside down cross, which is highly satanic. Mm-hmm. It says it all. People still go worshipping the royal family. They're all satanic pieces of crap, if I'm allowed to say that.
These are aligned to satanic ideology. So a lot of people find this to be uncomfortable. The royal family, the government, the ruling elite are aligned in their moral ideology to the religion of Satanism. I prove this. It's easily proved. This is what we are serving. When we are serving and obeying, we are essentially obeying Lord Satan himself, because we are bowing down to satanic ideology at the highest level.
Well, you're spot on, and it's interesting here what Stephen Truthseeker says the British Army tin hat worn at an angle symbolises the planet Saturn, which is interesting. He's corrected the spelling there later on. And now it says, I don't get this. Was it Headers Get Fox says, do defence okay, Mum and Pop's army? Don't get it. It might be to answer something else. I agree with Lance Sully. A sight that haunts me is the photo of German and British soldiers playing football on Christmas Day during the heart of the war. Yeah.
I mean, I know for a fact all the guys, pretty much 99.999% of all the blokes I work with in the army were sound, excellent, very, intelligent and interesting and genuinely nice blokes. but we become order followers. And when the man at the top is a psychopath, we become psychopaths out by default because we're getting paid to be psychopaths. But other than that, left to our own devices, all of these people will be sound.
Nice people, yeah.
And the thing is, you
And
then
I'll
go
tell
off
you-
and fight their wars, and then when you come back, or you end up leaving the army for whatever reason, the government couldn't care less. You end up on streets and living in cardboard boxes and stuff like that. And you think, well,
Yeah.
so you put your life on the line to help the government, and in return, they're basically kicking you the balls and saying, well, thanks for your time, but we ain't gonna help you. It's wrong in every way.
It is, because it's not natural for us to kill. That's why they have to do it. You see, when you think about it, in the Middle Ages, it was up close and personal. People were, killing each other. But it seems that the people have got further and further away with rifles, because you'll kill somebody and they'll be, a couple of 100 yards away? They won't be up close and personal so much. All right, you might, I guess you still have bayonets, I suppose, but I would have thought, I'm probably talking bullshit now and bollocks, so please tell me if I'm talking bullshit and bollocks. But am I right in saying you don't get much use of the bayonets now, or is it still part of the, and then twisting out again, and all that sort of stuff? I don't know if it's part of your training still, because,
Yeah, that's still
Really?
still a thing, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
charges.
now, Aunt Sally, now this is Hotline News, so we better contact people. So this, I'm not in the bath yet, Chris. Oh, hang on a minute. We just better contact our spy who's looking through your window. Is she in the bath? Is she in the bath? No, not yet. No, right, okay. I'm pottering around my kitchen, cooking but listening. Right. Oh, so mind the ladder outside if you open the back door, won't you? Because our spy is up there looking through your bathroom window with his binoculars, seeing when you're in the bath.
And what are you cooking, Aunt Sally?
There's nothing weird about us, we're, there's nothing there. I just get fucked. I like this. MFI, DFS, and IKEA. I've worked with these agencies. I'm a joiner. There it says, fragment the mind too. MK Ultra. Yes.
Leave them alone.
Divide and conquer strategy. Well, this is like what we were saying last night. I don't know if you saw any last night, but, I was saying our enemy are the psychopaths, because I strongly believe they are a different breed of human being. And you can accuse me of whatever I want. I like people from all different cultures, religions, whatever. As long as they're nice, polite, kind people, I couldn't give a damn. But amongst every culture, there's a psychopath. And I strongly believe the most humane thing we can do is put them on an island away from us where they can do whatever they want, but not bother us,
So one thing I mention in my presentations is if the man at the top is a psychopath, then psychopathy will rain down at every level. And sad to say, it has. So just to elaborate a little on the point you made, that psychopaths are our enemy. Well, one of the sad things to realize is the fact that we are our own enemy. The human race are its own enemy by failing to apply and understand the principles of morality, to have a heart-based emotional conscience, and to do effectively the right thing in reality. We are just obeying authority with a dangerous mind controlling religious cult called the government. End the government, end the problems, end war. It's as simple as that. No government, no war. No government, no slaves.
And usury in government, because government is only there because of usury. That's my little
exactly
10 pence
right.
worth. Now, we got here, Stephen Truth Seeker said, I researched the Iraqi War.
Yeah.
And I was at the anti-war demonstration when Ben Griffin gave a speech.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was that the one where he got arrested? Yes, he was the one that he legged it. Was it one of them that legged it and he got arrested?
Wow.
I think so. And we got here, war I despise because it means destruction of innocent lives. War means tears to thousands of mothers' eyes. when their sons go out to fight and lose their lives. Well put.
Yeah.
As we just get folks. And
Yeah, brilliant.
what I find very, very moving is when you see these children in places like Palestine and that's going to affect them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah,
What they
exactly.
see, and that I
It's
mean,
another horrific loss of life, which is uncalled for and completely avoidable. All of it.
yes, that's right. And we got here. Our enemy is the government. Spot on, Angela
Yeah,
Dempsey. Spot
100%
on.
agree.
Yeah. Now this is this famous record. Edwards get fucked. War. Huh. Yeah. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. That's
Say
right.
it again.
Say it again. Now you look at it. Vietnam War. Poor sods were drafted to go into the Vietnam War. Who gives... Now, I'm going to be really blunt then. I'm sorry if I've upset anybody in America or anything, but I don't mean to. Who gives a shit about the poor sods who got killed in Vietnam now? You can go to Vietnam. It's one of the cheapest places to live. It's... I don't know what sort of government they got there, but you can go there. It's very modern. You can actually buy a house in Vietnam. But so what did they fight over? What exactly did they fight?
Yeah.
You know, because now during the nonsense, this is the Kingston Whittler. So it's me and my family were walking through the local street market in the middle of the road, to get elsewhere, and one of those yellow vested middle aged women asked us to wear a mask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Kingston Whittler said, I said, we are outside laughing, and her response was a totally befuddled face, like she had crashed. Well, I had some stupid old woman. I was walking along the road, walk up someone's drive and stand at the back like this so I could pass. Huh? Bonkers.
Yeah.
Kingston Whittler said, what about the traitors who flew MPs' helicopters overhead, watching us on our allotments in 2020? I didn't know this. And also every Friday on the Thames, watching people having a nice evening. These people are scumbags.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think I know how confident I am with saying this, but since that took place, there's been a lot of little what you call light aircraft flying about, which seems to be doing what maybe could be reconnaissance, and the police helicopters are out every day checking, flying. My ex-partner, she lives near Shrewsbury, and every day, pretty much without fail, the police helicopter would be circling and going around, and every 45 minutes or so, you come back over the house, go back round, and as though they were checking the borders, as though we were in the middle of a war, if you like.
What about... that's interesting. What about drones? I haven't seen any drones. Have you seen any drones at all?
Not drones, no, but definitely police helicopters. They're absolutely everywhere. And you get 2 or 3 of them sometimes sort of circling around and landing in random places where you wouldn't expect them to be. Yeah, proper weird times.
That's weird. Hello, Marlene. Yeah. Sorry, you're going to say, Steve. Sorry, mate.
Yeah. Do you know, you mentioned Vietnam, and earlier I mentioned the fact that Vietnam, the advisors were sent in on the 322nd day of the year, which we've kind of mentioned a fair bit, the Satanic season of sacrifice. But that is actually, let me put a little bit more meat on the bones as to what this is and how this works in a little bit more depth. So the Satanic season of sacrifice is a 40-day period. It starts on the vernal equinox, which is usually March the 22nd or around then, and it ends on May the 1st. Now, we probably all know that May the 1st is quite an important date in not just the pagan calendar, not just the Satanic calendar, but just in the sort of current calendar, where we, May the 1st is, it's also known as Beltane, which many people will be aware of. The fires of Baal, that's what it means, that's what it alludes to. But here's a little bit of, let's disclose something about Area 51. So Area 51.
Please. Oh, yes.
So I've actually worked with people who have been there, and sadly, none of them came back with any UFO stories. But Area 51, why is it called Area 51? And why is it so secretive? Well, numerology, 5 and 1. 5 and 1, let's put that into a calendar. 5 and 1 is May the 1st. May the 1st is Workers' Day in all the communist nations and beyond. It's known as Labor Day. But May the 1st is May Day. It comes from the French term May days, which ironically kind of means help me. But what's that got to do with the price of cheese? Well, on May the 1st, 5 and 1, the 5th month, the first day, Beltane, the fires of Baal, British operations on the Falklands opened up with Operation Black Book. Black Book, BB 22, another very, very significant number, the number of Nimrod, the Lord of Babylon, the number of putting dreams into manifestation. That's why you've got 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, 22 bones in the skull. We've also got 22 pathways on the Kabbalistic Sephiroth, 22 SAS, one of the leading groups in the British Army. That's no coincidence, incidentally, but never mind that. Area 51, May the 1st, 5 and 1, a bombing raid on Stanley Airfield occurred on May the 1st, and the order was given to sink the General Belgrano. Interestingly, I'm pretty sure there was 322 sailors who drowned or died on that vessel, the Belgrano. Interestingly as well, Article 51 of the Charter of the United Nations was invoked, which permits states to launch military operations against other states. This is how deep and how much, well, let's just say the fabric of reality is intertwined with satanic ideology. There's groups and there's people in this world who know fine well the implications of what goes on and some of the numbers and occult themes involved. So we need to, if we want to win a war against an evil-minded group of psychopaths, we have to understand the language of their doctrine. So that's it in a nutshell.
That's interesting, because there's a joke at the time of the Falklands, because the Falklands was airfields, Port Stanley Airfield was bombed by Vulcan bombers from the 1950s, and the joke was, what has Port Stanley Airfield and Mr. Spock from Star Trek, his mother, got in common? And the answer was, they've both been effed by Vulcans. But anyway, that's a terrible joke.
Oh, God.
That was the joke at the time, you see. I mean, was you with any blokes who were in the Falklands at all? Did you meet them? Was it different?
No, I don't think so. Although I've been there a couple of times.
Have you really? Is it as depressing place as it looks? Cold, wet, and miserable all the time. It just looks horrible.
Do you know what? In summer, the weather is absolutely fantastic.
Really?
But yeah, it's pretty grim. It's a harsh environment.
But apparently, there was some terrible things that happened there that were against the Geneva Convention that has been covered up, apparently.
Right.
And about this Declassified, going further back in time to 1974, did you know this country was almost taken over by a coup in 1974? Because what happened is the army, in inverted commas, did an exercise outside Heathrow Airport, where they were checking with the police vehicles and all that. And at the time, the IRA were at their height, and it was an anti-terrorist thing, but the government didn't know anything about it. But from secret papers that have been released by MI5, apparently there was a plot by the Queen, what's his name now, Mountbatten,
and some senior people in the army, they believed that the MI5 believed that Harold Wilson, who was the prime minister at the time, was too Soviet friendly, and there was evidence to back up that he was a Soviet spy, and they planned to take over the country, and apparently Mountbatten was so-called well liked because it was a mystery why I think it was either 75, I think it was 74, why Wilson suddenly resigned. They didn't know because he was, and he just suddenly resigned, and that was partly the reason because he thought there was a plot. It's quite interesting. But back to chat, we've got here. Answer, he says, this is one for you, Steve. One of the terms I've heard in old army recruitment jargon is that you will learn a trade in the army. Is that right, Steve, or is that just bollocks?
No, that's very true. There's loads of trades in the army, all sorts of drivers, chefs, tons of different things. Yeah, I mean, my trade was fairly brutal. I was just an assassin. But there's many other ones. You could be an electrician, a mechanic, fix things, demolitions. Yeah, there's loads of trades in the army. However, when the government are disbanded, there will be no need for the army. But so what I would do, because it would be unfair just to get rid of 70 odd thousand people in one full swoop. Let's employ these people to dismantle the weapons of warfare and to come up with peaceful resolutions to help our fellow brethren from other nations and this nation in the patch up that will be required when these evil scum are kicked out of town.
I agree with you. And once we get a people's bank, and it sounds communist, but it isn't, where the profits of the country go into people's pockets, not into a shady minority of usury scammers. Because you think about that, when you look at things like benefits and things like that, we should be no need for benefits because the attitude should be, well, we're going to work hard for the country, and taxation would be a thing that would be part of the history books. You wouldn't really need it.
Yeah,
because
taxation. We've got to remember taxation. Let's stop calling it taxation. Let's call it robbery. Let's call it highway robbery of slaves. That's what taxation is. That's why I don't contribute to the highway robbery of slavery, because I don't support that notion. It's complete nonsense. So join the club. I'm in a very small minority here. Join the club. That's what I'll say to your viewers.
Well, we are in a minority, and I mean, if you look into this 30, 40, 30, was it mass formation? I think I can mention it now. I did a show on it, and it was taken down by YouTube. But,
was it?
Yes, but we will always be in the minority because you've got 30% who will go with the flow. Sorry, who will believe what the government says. Then 40% who go with the flow, and us 30%.
Yeah.
Who, and that's why the government is going for the 40% all the time. The 40% in the middle.
If we were putting on our military headdress and coming up with military style solutions and resolutions to these problems, we can deduce using an enemy focused approach. They are using the weapons of psychological warfare, cognitive warfare against us. What this 30% group needs to do is educate in as many different means as possible, as many different people as possible, in order to gain their mutual support and understanding. So shows like this are brilliant. I share this far and wide.
Oh, it's very kind of you.
And I'm a servant. I was a servant soldier, a career soldier. I loved being in the army. I loved the lads I work with. I'm not knocking that aspect of it. What I'm knocking is the fact that when I woke up to realize what it is all about, and put put all the cogs in places and realized that the mechanism behind it all, I realized one thing, and it comes from here. It's called the heart. And if we're not basing our understanding with heart-based intelligence, then we are literally, wasting our own selves away with lies, deceit, and garbage.
When I was a kid, there was this thing, Thunderbirds, and I thought at the time, because it was Jerry Anderson, I think, that dreamt it up, and he had this thing because it was going to be like a military thing, and he said, no, we don't want that, and he invented this international rescue that was pure fiction for Thunderbirds. But I often thought the people who want adventure, who are the army type, and that would be a marvellous thing to have an international rescue when things are where they will be parachuted in if there's an earthquake somewhere. They're trained to get people out of. That would be brilliant. An international rescue team.
Yeah.
And I've often thought of that. Wouldn't it be marvellous? They were similar to the army, because one thing the army does give you is self-discipline. I've noticed that you're very self-disciplined, and you say a time, you're there. Eric, and I think that, and it also trains the mind.
Yeah. There's loads of excellent aspects, just like you say, of military life.
That's right. It sort of, but I think you've got to have an aptitude for that. But we go through different stages in life, and I think that you went through the stage where you go into the army. Nothing wrong with that. But then you changed to a different stage in your life where you reflected on what you did. Now, for example, I think we all do that. We all go through different stages in life where, when we were teenagers, we do things that we wouldn't do. Did you go in at an early age? I mean, was you a teenager when you went into the army, or did you?
I was 19. I started off in the Air Force, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you want to be a pilot?
No, I wasn't a pilot.
No.
No, but I must be a bit of a badge collector, because I was a member of the Air Force, the Navy, and the Army. So how about that for a trilogy?
Wow.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah,
I've had 3 different service numbers.
Good heavens. Yes. But now, this is interesting. It says, we all descend, this is Stephen Trueseeker, descended from the Nephilim. It's where evil comes from.
Well, the Nephilim were to do with the giants, weren't they?
Yes,
the Bible talks about.
And as one of your fans here, that's life, but not as we know it. A very wise man, Steve is.
Thanks,
very
man.
Good. That's very
Check
kind.
his, if you weren't aware, William runs, that's the name of his channel on Telegram and YouTube. So I'm going to put a big plug there. He put some excellent stuff about the moon and 9/11 on his channel. That's life, but not as we know it. Top man. And he's a great bloke. He does a great chat show as well.
We'll look into that. The Hillsborough disaster was at 15th of April, 1989.
Yeah,
I was there.
The Feast of Moloch. So I think he's mentioned that before. The 15th of April is very, very close to a date in the Satanic calendar called the Feast of Moloch. But do you know what? Speaking of Satanic holy dates, we've mentioned 322, the March the 22nd, the season of sacrifice. You also alluded to the IRA. So do you know what? This is for the Irish people. Cheers to you guys. I'm going to say this. There's many people in the British Army who realise that what happened in Operation Banner, Northern Ireland, was the British rule of law, the British control of what happened in Northern Ireland was wrong on many, many levels. But not getting into like mass debates on that area.
Don't want mass debates on, and we don't want mass debates on the. I might get banned from YouTube, Yes.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Eye of Ra, the Eye of Ra, the IRA. if anyone knows British Telecom Tower, I don't know if it's called that now in London. That
Yes.
was bombed supposedly by the Eye of Ra. Okay, the Eye of Ra, the IRA, on Halloween, Satanic holy date. I forget what year. It might have been the 70s. I really can't remember. But it was on floor 33. Halloween, floor 33. Come
Wow.
on. Have you not
Could
worked it out by now? Yeah, let me just mention this while I remember. I think the first Eye of Ra car bomb was March the 22nd. Again, I forget what year. Look it up. Also, this is pretty sad. The Warrington bomb, I'm pretty sure. Again, not this at the top of my head. The Warrington bomb, I'm pretty sure that this was March the 22nd. The headlines in the Daily Mirror. Look this up. Sacrificed. 2 young boys sacrificed. That was the
That's
headline.
right.
March the
And
22nd.
there's a fair amount of evidence that the IRA didn't do it. There's a
I
lot of
would.
evidence
Do
there.
you know what? If I was a gambling man, I'd say that it had nothing to do with it. I
Yes.
would say this was psychological warfare of that generation. Blaming,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying that there wasn't a group and there wasn't a body of men who were out doing, bad things and naughty things. But I can guarantee that there's something more, um, what's the word, naughty.
Sinister.
Yeah.
Say again?
So,
It's more sinister about it.
More
I'll have a look at,
sinister.
when I get a few minutes. I'll have a go at decoding that and see what comes up
Yeah.
from it. Not
yeah.
But even if
If
we
you
were to
go,
look at the dates themselves, Halloween and March the 22nd, if anything's happening on these dates, then this is to fall in line with their satanic ideology. They use the satanic calendar. There's loads and loads of proof for this. We just need it's
you're
because
right.
it's not in our sphere of understanding, so therefore it escapes our attention. But this is, I mean, I've studied this for quite a number of years now, and there's a massive pattern forming which is very easily understandable once you become educated in the dark occult.
Well, the thing is, the 31st of October would be 311 or 113, whichever way you want to look at it. And that links to the Angel of the Bottomless Pit, who we know who that is.
Yeah,
And I've
Abaddon,
just been,
nine
I've been trying to teach this stuff to a friend of mine who was saying that you can make the numbers do what you want, which we know you can't.
Yeah.
And I just basically gave him a whole list of stuff to do with the royal family and how the number 222 links to them. Because the British royal family is 222 in gematria. And you've got the Queen's coffin was moved to Westminster Abbey at 2:22 p.m.
Yeah.
You've got Charles was announced as having cancer 22 weeks and 2 days after his birthday. And the anniversary from Diana to Prince Philip, who, by the way, died at 99 on the 99th day of the year. The anniversary from Princess Diana to his death is 222 days. There's so many.
Amazing.
And this is what we're saying about it. And this guy was saying, well, can you predict the future? Well, the point is, it's not about predicting the future. It's actually trying to explain to people that if you can see through the news as what it is for the pack of lies that it is,
Yeah.
and
Psyop propaganda.
you start seeing the same patterns, the same numbers turning up over and over again, when the next bit of propaganda comes out, whatever the next thing will be, people will see through it and not fall for it. So the
Well,
importance of learning it is more
yeah.
important than they realise.
It's interesting because it's funny you were saying about the IRA. There used to be a policeman lived opposite where I lived. He's moved away now. And what it could have been. Anyway, he said that one of the blokes he was in the police force with was ex-army and was actually on the streets of Belfast. And he was in the parachute regiment.
Yeah.
And they were walking round, and one evening on patrol, there's a girl screaming. And they quickly ran over, and she's being raped. She's about to be raped, and they saved her. And it turns out that girl was the daughter of one of the top IRA blokes. And in the pub, some time later, there was some voice from the back said, "Thanks, Para." And not one of them, and when they went out on patrol, they never, ever got attacked.
Right.
Never. And that was a
Yeah.
kind of thank you. And he said there was like a gentleman's agreement. And now I don't know whether it's bullshit or not. I don't know whether you found this up, but he said that it was a kind of tit for tat, and they respected that this girl was saved by the paratroop regiment, so they never touched them. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of psyop was going, a lot of propaganda was going on, because you know that Irish gags didn't exist before the RA troubles in 1969
Really.
kicked off.
Right.
Yes,
Okay. Yeah.
it's all part of the psyop.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that it was. I think a lot of the bombings on the mainland. I mean, let's face it. Look at it from the IRA's point of view. You would want to get British civilians on your side to go against the army and the government. You wouldn't want to turn civilians against you. That'd be a very silly thing to do. And they weren't
Yeah.
stupid. And I think these bombings were done, and these outrages were done deliberately to turn people round. I mean,
Yeah,
all right. There were
exactly.
psychopaths in the IRA. There was nasty murdering bastards in the IRA. You know, but I don't know. You see, this is the thing. I'm only guessing here, but it does seem that way. I mean, look at was it the Ergun gang in Palestine? What they were doing. You know, it was horrendous.
Yeah.
Is it Ergun? I think it was Ergun, wasn't it?
I'm not sure.
That was the one where two British soldiers were hung by them, and
Right.
I think
Okay.
someone in chat will be able to correct me if I'm wrong. And there was a bombing in the at a hotel there, and it killed innocent women and children, men, women, and children.
Mm.
And one of the blokes that did the bombing later became Prime Minister of Israel and was
Wow.
welcomed with
Yeah.
open arms with the Queen. So, you know,
They look after each other, don't they?
well, one man's terrorist is another one's freedom fighter.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, this
Well,
is the thing.
do you know what? Speaking of terrorists, if you know, just while I remember, if that's all right, Eric,
Certainly, yeah.
we'll mention the date, May the 1st, and how that relates to the number 5 and 1. What that means in kind of esoteric terms is the percent, let's just say the percentage 50-50. Well, if the percentage is 49-51, 51 represents the ruling elite because they want to remain powerful. So that's why that number is of particular importance to them, because they represent the power behind the people. This is what wars, this is what psyops, this is what terrorism is essentially about. It's to allow the government to remain in power over the people, because when the people realize that they don't need a government, the government then become subject to requirement and become written to history. But let's look at that date in more detail. May the 1st. So if anyone looks into something called Neptune's Spear, Operation Neptune Spear, remember Neptune's Spear is the trident, and the trident is an instrument of the devil. This was the death of Osama bin Laden, which took place on May the 1st, and I think it was 2011. Operation Neptune Spear. That was, remember that it was in Abbottabad in Pakistan. This was May the 1st. This was announced, and if again we'll go by Eastern Standard Time, this was announced on May the 1st. The birth date of the Illuminati is May the 1st. This is why things like the what we'll call it, the war in the Falklands, May the 1st. If we look into it in a little bit more depth, Neptune's Spear, the death of Osama bin Laden, International Terrorist of the Year, was announced with the code word Geronimo. Geronimo is the person who was speculated to have the skull and bones. That's what the skull and bones are named after, in essence, the skull and bones of Geronimo. The secret society known as Lodge 322. They at one time, and this is pretty much proven now, they at one time stole and held the bones and the skull of the native Indian chief Geronimo.
And he was quite a character.
Yeah.
That's
So
fascinating.
This is how deep this rabbit hole goes. So it all sounds. Why would they do these things? I'll tell you why they do these things, because they're literally mocking the imbeciles, the 49%. They are mocking us. We need to
Yes.
know that.
Well, this is an interesting one. This is from Stephen Truthseeker. He says, the war in Iraq was a blood sacrifice for the vampire Nephilim, old ones sleeping. I think that the World War One was definitely a sacrifice. When you look at the
Yeah.
mass carnage, millions, I
Yeah.
mean, it's just horrendous. It really was.
Well,
Now,
can
this
I
is
mention a quick date here, Eric? Just while
okay.
you mentioned World War One. Sorry to intrude on you there, but before I forget,
Oh, it's
World
okay.
War one of the key instrumental battles and one of the bloodiest, which killed probably 1 million people, was the Battle of the Somme. Have a
Some,
guess what date that ended? It was ended on the 18th of November, day 322. It actually started, I believe, on July the 1st, which is the date of Demon Revels, another satanic date. So, yeah,
wow.
I'm fully on board with
Well,
that. It's a satanic blood sacrifice.
my mother's uncle was there, and he was buried alive. And
Wow.
luckily, his pals saw him and dug him out.
Yeah.
And he was stone deaf after that occasion, and he
Mm.
still had to carry on. And then he claimed injuries, and they said no because his deafness was he had it as a child. So they said, well, okay, if I had it as a child, how comes my medical
Yeah.
records say that I was A1 fit when I went into the forces? They
Mhm.
couldn't answer it, but he still didn't get a pension. But now this is an interesting one. The army blokes will use their weapons on you and me if they're told to. Make no mistake. I don't know how. I don't know. Would they on their own? I don't think so.
Mhm.
I don't know. There would be some hard nuts that might, but I don't know.
Yeah, I've got an interesting. Do you know we've mentioned number 322 again?
Mm,
These things are just if I don't mention them while I remember, I'll forget. So 322. Where else do we see that? Has anyone ever trained with the Navy SEALs? Well, they've
no.
got a base in. If you have, you might know that they've actually got a naval amphibian warfare base in a place called Coronado
Hmm.
in America. They are situated in building 322, and get this, it's actually, and again, check this out on, I don't know, Google Maps or something. It is the building 322 is shaped like I don't, can I say this on YouTube? A very prominent emblem from World War II belonging to the Axis. Swear
Swastika.
to God, yeah, it's shaped like a swastika.
Because actually, that is round the other way round. It's a sign of good luck. It's an old pagan thing,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
they use it a lot in India as well. Not pagan, but if you
Yeah.
go to, I think is it Thailand, you've got swastikas all over the place. But Steve
Well,
says 15th of April. Sorry, wait a minute. It's just, it won't be a moment. It says 15th of April is my mum's birthday. She's not satanic. Sorry, you was going to say.
I would say isn't the symbol we were just talking about? Isn't that didn't that used to represent power or energy rather than it being used for what it we now deem that to be linked to?
Well, I know that the Finnish Air Force had the swastika as their logo on their aircraft. I think it was until about 1941, 42. And a lot of American tank regiments had the swastika as their logo as well. And when you look at it, it was, as far as I know, it was a good luck symbol. And it
Yeah.
represented the 4 seasons of the year. There's nothing to
It
do with
represents as
basically.
well the star constellation of Polaris and the plough.
Really? I
Yeah,
didn't
it's
realise
the
that.
movement of Polaris.
Now, apparently, as head of the Sket Fox says, I always knew I was special. Now, what about the night of the Long Knives, which is the 4th of May? Now, that must be a significance because that happens to be my birthday.
Hey, happy
So I
birthday
said,
when it comes. Here's a
thank
great
you.
one for you.
Yeah,
May the 1st is Beltane. Beltane is
yeah.
in some thoughts, a 6-day period. So May the 1st to the, well, let's just say the 5th of May, quite often. Right, SAS, take note. When was Operation Nimrod? And remember, Nimrod, such as Nimrod is the god of Babylon, all right? Evil King Nimrod. He wasn't a good bloke. He was the Babylonian lord of the underworld. He was a blinking head the ball. Operation Nimrod was the Iranian embassy siege. Have a look at the dates when that started and when it finished. It was a belt-in ritual, you muppets! And they even named a film called 6 Days to mark the 6 days of belt-in. This is all satanic rituals. 6 people died on that 6-day period to mark the belt-in ritual. 666.
Wow. And we've
It
got
gets
one
better. Operation
Yeah.
Flavius. Check that one out. Why was Operation Flavius? And who is Flavius? Well, that was a Shakespearean play about Caesar. I think was it Caesar getting killed? That's when the Eye of Ra, the 3 Eye of Ra members got murdered by SAS in Gibraltar.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yes. Now, Louise Wilcox says the swastika used to be an emblem for good business, fair trader. That's interesting.
Yeah. Its
Now,
original thing was good.
Now, whilst we are there, is there any significance to the Grand Brighton Hotel bombing during the Conservative Party conference on 12th of October 1984 at 2:54? Sorry, 5 people dead, 31 to 34 injured.
I don't know. Has Satanic got any gematria significance to that?
Steve says the mortar attack on Downing Street on 7/2/91. Anything on that? Oh, that was when John Major, and apparently this is funny. They said John Major very calmly got up from his seat and said, "Gentlemen, we'll have to postpone this meeting." Reality was he panicked and the Secret Service pushed him into a wardrobe for safety. Oh, I've wet myself. Oh!
With regards to the answer to Aunt Sally, the 12th of October would have left 80 days in the year, which 80 links to Satanic. And what was the other date we were looking at?
Oh, and the other one was Downing Street attack on the 7th of February 1991. Mortar attack with John Wager, I think it was.
Was anybody killed on that one? Because
I don't think so, but I think he had a laundry problem though. John Major, they reckon he pissed himself with shock. I bet my knickers. Sorry,
that was day 38 of the year, and 38. If you check out the Murder by Numbers movie poster, the B and the E are changed to 3 and 8 because 38 equals murder, as does 83.
Right, we got here. Because I had a late night last night. It says here, Nephilim, please excuse me by the way, the Nephilim came here in spaceships and were masters of the DNA. They created modern man. And we're going back to 1991. 4 minor injuries on 7th. So there was people minor injuries on 7th the February 1991, and also some wet underpants as well. Oh, and some soiled ones as well were located. Had to get emergency laundry.
On that note, I went to the hospital a couple of days ago, and I've got some bruises and stuff on my arms, and one looked like a Davy lamp, another one looked like a pickaxe. And I said to the nurse, "Am I right?" She said, "Yeah, you've just got minor injuries."
Oh, bloody hell. It's like the Irish bloke, going back to Irish jokes. Irish bloke fell down a mine, and they said, "Are you all right, Paddy?" He says, "Have you broken anything? There's nothing down here to break." Sorry, it's terrible. Right, but this is interesting. Now, this is what is this? I am a owl. I seek out the fowl. Do you really? Now, the other one I was going to mention is coming up. I'm thinking of doing a show, and it's about capital punishment. Now, I'm going to try and find a group of people that are for it and a group of people that are against it. Now, I am passionately against it. Passionately against it. I don't believe in capital punishment. And I just wonder, gentlemen, what's your view? Would you be interested in coming on the show? Are you pro or against it? Because I know someone is pro capital punishment, someone you'd least expect to be like pro capital punishment. But what about yourself, Steve? Would you be pro or anti?
All killing is immoral, so therefore even capital punishment is wrong. So I would not kill. I mean, there needs to be a distinction between killing in order to preserve life, in self-defense. That is one of the rules of the universe, the right to self-preservation. So that if that requires the killing of another person in order to defend yourself from physical harm, then that is perfectly acceptable.
I agree with you there. Yes, I 100% agree with you because
capital punishment. So, for example, Bill Gates, some people may say that he deserves capital punishment. Well, I wouldn't be pulling the trigger personally. You've got to remember some of these people that you think, well, these deserve the chopping block. Yeah, some of these people are scum on earth, but we've allowed them. This is what we've got to remember. Society has enabled actively to perpetrate these people who are in power to go about the business, which is genocide, mass murder, and crimes against humanity. We have allowed that through our own ignorance, inaction, and acceptance of authority. We are only killing ourselves. That's what the human race needs to get out of this. We are killing ourselves if we think capital punishment is the way forward for some of these
I agree.
scumbags.
You're coming down to their level, and it's different because we are not conditioned to kill because we've got a hippocampus here that works. But you see, the thing is, I'm trying to get. I mean, what about yourself, His Royal Hanorach? Are you pro or anti?
I would say I'm against the capital punishment side of things, but then if you've got somebody who's a mass murderer, for example, or who's tortured people or children or however sick they may be, does their life deserve to be kept? Do they deserve to be kept alive or in a cage, for example? Which I suppose is no different than.
Yeah, but
if they're being kept in a cage, it's no different than.
Well, look at that chap who was, I think his name was Boyle, Jimmy Boyle, something like that. He was brought up in Glasgow, and he killed someone, and but he was a member of a gang, and something clicked when he was in prison, and he became a good person. He apologised to the people. And that takes guts. The person, the family, one of the people he killed from, and he worked when he was released from prison to prevent boys ending up like he did. And he did a lot of good work. And he became a good man. And I think that, all right, there are people that are mentally sick. There are paedophiles and people like that. My view is to have an island and just put them on the island where there's infrastructure, there's roads, let them live amongst themselves. We don't want them. Just to leave.
I think they're doing that now. They're doing that now, Eric. The island of Great Britain is being
I agree with you.
swamped with paedophiles, murderers, and criminals.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
They've sent them on boats.
But you're right there. But I mean, do you fancy we could do quite a good show? I think on this because it could be quite a hot debate. And the only person I've only found one person that's for capital punishment. I'm trying to find a few more. And it's got to be equal. We can't have it out. We've got to have so many on one side and so many on another side.
I'd join you on that. Because
So thanks for joining me.
Sorry, no, you speak this time. Yeah.
Oh, that's very kind. I was going to say there won't be any time limit for your speech. You just say, you know, if it takes as long as it was. I hate all this. You've got 1 minute, and I went, no, none of that bullshit. It just be, we'll flip a coin beforehand. Who goes on first? And we're trying to make it as fair as possible. And a person just gives a, and you'll be surprised. The person, I won't mention any names, who's pro capital punishment. I was quite surprised. I'm passionately against it, because I think it's inhuman. People like Blair and that are psychopaths. They're a different breed. You don't kill. I look on them like crocodiles. Crocodiles are capable of killing us, yes. And if they killed a human being, would you execute a crocodile? No, because it's a killing machine. What you do, you keep it in the swamps or wherever crocodiles live, and you you stand a long distance from them, so as they won't harm you. But the fact of the matter is that I think psychopaths are a subbreed, and to put them on an island would be the most humane thing you could do. Their families can visit them, but they'll never come, or they can even live with them if they wanted to. But they can never come off that island. And I think that would be the most humane thing. It would cost pennies because it would be they'd have to grow their own food and that type of thing. People are saying, "Oh, you know, that's very liberal. That's very wet." No, I think the deaths. When you look at some of the things that happened, like in 1928, there was a woman. It was the only photograph of electrocution that has ever been put in the press, as far as I know. And what happened? There was a woman who had a very domineering husband, and she fell in love with another bloke, and this other fella killed her husband. And because she was in on it, not only did she get the death sentence, but so did this other chap. And today she would not have been sentenced. And she was tried by all men jury, and she was electrocuted. And what happened is a chap from the press had a camera specially made that was strapped to his ankle, and it only had one shot, and he sat there, and when they pulled the lever, he lifted his trouser leg up, went click, and took it. And then the next day, that was in the press, and it helped to bring capital punishment to an end briefly in America, and then they brought it back again. And I think that it's inhumane. And people say, "Oh, what about murderers and things like that?" Well, if someone murders somebody or tortures people, they're mentally sick. They need to be sent to a psychiatric ward. There's something wrong with them, you know. And that's it. It's not so clear cut as we say. And a lot of the people that look at when they're making a mistake, they've made loads of mistakes, you know. So I think. Sorry, he's going to say.
But I guess we see a lot of films which highlights, you know, the excitement of killing people. Or you'll have a thriller where you'll have some guy or some girl going around murdering people for, you know, for fun or whatever. And I suppose that makes people think, oh well, it's okay to do that sort of thing. I suppose it's in our faces these days in films, the blood and guts and all the rest of it.
Well, that's right. I mean, I have to admit, I did waver for a time. I did waver, and it was John Hamer made me waver. He is the same as me. He comes here again, passionately against it, but he put a very good argument, and in fact, I might get him on. And he wasn't the person I was thinking about, and he said that, okay, you put these bastards away, and then they'll get released in a couple of years, and they'll start back from where they started. He said, you just got to get rid of them. He said, and so that's another argument. So it would be interesting. So it would be on a Sunday, so we can get about 10 people on it. It'd be a very interesting show, I think. So this is what I've got planned in the future. Anyway, sorry.
I was going to say one quick thought on that. With America, they give out massive sentences as well, don't they, to mass murderers? So is the death penalty any different than incarcerating somebody for life? So for example, if someone's been convicted and of 50 murders and they get sentenced to 200 years in life, well, they're never going to get out of prison, are they? So is
I
that
don't believe
not-
in prison. I don't believe in prison. And that sounds weird.
Yeah.
I do not believe in prison at all. There are other ways, and it's not so much
Exactly.
punishment. It's the fact of the matter is that if they made it the death sentence, that if you, I don't know, crossed a zebra crossing and you stood on the white patches, that is a criminal offence or something like that. I mean, it gets ridiculous. I mean, in the Edwardian days, sorry, not Edwardian, well, it was before Victorian. But anyway, about 200 years ago, you could get executed for stealing an apple. Seriously. There was women that got executed for stealing to feed their family. So, I mean, Tyburn, they used to string about 20 up at a time. That was in London. And it was quite a spectacle, Oh, we're going to go and see the hangings. Oh, how lovely, We've gone beyond that. But anyway, we've come to our time. My word, we're 25 minutes over.
Wow.
That is the fastest 2 hours ever. Well, last night was as well. Steve, thanks a million for coming on.
Thanks for having me again. Pleasure.
And thank you very much for wearing your army fatigues. I apologise again. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have put mine on because that was, that's it. Excellent. Yes. Excellent. And because, as I say, it was disrespectful of you because I don't like to disrespect people, but you have got the guts.
Absolutely no problem to me whatsoever. That's not disrespectful for me.
Well, I just thought it was. And
well, that's a kind gesture. I appreciate that.
That's okay, because I do admire bravery. I really do admire it. And I admire people that can do things, have got the guts to do things that I can't do. I haven't got the guts.
Can I mention one person's name who's, again, a brave individual?
Certainly.
Who was a member of the British Army in East Hills. Name is Dale Vincent. He was, I think he was a Welsh Guardsman. He's facing criminal charges for arresting a police constable at a death centre with the...
yeah.
So some people might have heard his name or seen him on YouTube, etc. He's facing charges on the 19th of March down in Bristol, I believe. It'd be great if anybody could go and support him. And he's one such a fine individual from the British Army who stood up against the crimes that have been committed in the last few years. There needs to be more people like him, and he obviously needs support as well. But
brilliant.
Vincent,
be nice to get.
Man.
Excellent, and also, I mean, I can't because I'm a civilian. See, but the thing is, it'd be nice to get them on this show. It really would be nice to get him on the show and have a chat. I mean, you can imagine the three of them. There'll be you, the other chap, and this other fella.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. It really would be a good show. I think it would be very interesting. But anyway, as I was saying, in chat, if anybody's interested in this death sentence one where we debate, we be fair with it, and we're all adults. We won't get heated discussions or anything like that. I think it'd be interesting to see what people would say and chat about it. My feeling is I think the majority would be against. I don't know. Might be wrong, because I've got to do a poll on Telegram as well on that day, so we see where the poll comes out.
Worthwhile.
So it'd be quite an interesting one. And they'll think of me, you wet lily-livered bloody liberal, against hanging and all that. Yes, I am. Because even Pierpoint, at the end of his life, he said he was actually totally against hanging. Did you know that? He was the last, well, not the last, but he was the famous hangman. And he realised he hung a lot of innocent people.
Wow.
Yeah, because he was one that hung Ruth Ellis.
If murderers deserve the death sentence, well, I was a murderer for a job. That doesn't, obviously I'm not going to support the death sentence because me and my colleagues would all be up for the chopping block. So
you were doing what you're told. No, but I think it's
we
also
were doing what we were told, and that's the problem. We need to do what we know and not what we're told. That's not moral relativism.
And I've actually worked on some shit architectural jobs because I was not only doing what I was told, I was bleeding doing it for the money. That's basically it.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to work on that. I've got principles. How much? Oh, yeah, all right, I'll do it.
Exactly.
That. Sadly, it gets you like that when you're a contract bloke. Bloody hell, you're chasing
Oh,
Danny
yeah,
Dollar,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you become like that. And the stress. Wow. That's another thing. I guess is there a lot of stress in it? There must be a lot of stress. Did you find that? It's very stressful occasionally.
What in warfare?
Well, no, I mean, obviously warfare is stressful, but I mean, I suppose in every day, what I'm talking about in peacetime, training and things like that. Did you find it very stressful, or do you enjoy it, or?
No, mostly enjoyable. In fairness, if you like a bit of action and excitement, it was a
Yes.
top job. Like I say, it's not until you develop a conscience and you realise that you were just an order follower for money, and some of this, some of us were quite open about that. We were murderers for money. We didn't really care less about politics. Many of us, I didn't at one stage, didn't care less. That was the politician's job. It's not my job to ask questions. This is where we're going wrong. We need to start asking questions and come to understandings.
I agree with you. As a chap, Banhofer, is it some name like that, and he
Right.
did a thing on stupidity. And he reckons the
Oh, yeah.
reason these dictators get into power is because of stupidity.
Stupidity, the theory of stupidity,
Yeah.
And he was executed in World War II.
That's right.
That guy,
Yeah, he was executed. But people, as George Carlin said, he said people are stupid, and that we're talking about because remember we've got 30% and 40%. That's 70% against us at any time.
Yeah.
Because the 40% go with the flow. And this is
so the
the
answer
trouble.
is for people to become less stupid, and the only way to do that is by increasing their knowledge and understanding.
And also having a laugh. That's
Yeah.
it. It's a very, very good book.
Before you end on having a laugh, can I just quickly mention a quick reminder for folks at home? March the 22nd, the Satanic Season of Sacrifice. That's the date Bojo the Clown announced lockdown. We mentioned another date in this Satanic calendar, Halloween. Again, it sounds a little bit comedy, but Halloween is a very significant Satanic holy date. That was the date, by the way, that Bojo the Clown announced lockdown 2. So if you don't think there's a satanic conspiracy to subjugate humanity, check out what's going on, look at the dates involved, then wait out till the end of the week, March the 22nd, see what happens then.
Excellent. And also, thank you, the very, very nice people in chat. Steve says it is Georgian, there's one I was looking for. And Angela Dempsey, hello Angela, says barbaric sentence given to petty criminals is IPP, labour again. Yes. But there is a better way than prison, a far better way. And I can it'll take a long time to explain. And anyway, anything to any courses you got? We got to give you a plug, mate, haven't we? So any courses going on or anything like that? Do we need to plug?
It is. I'm actually part of a wellness and survival event in Cumbria at the weekend. I'll be honest, I don't know any details, but if you happen to stumble by, pop in for a brew and a chat. And if I get the opportunity another show, I'll mention forthcoming stuff. If that's
excellent. Also, we might soon we get supply of Fockham Hall Wonder pencils. These more versatile than a Swiss Army knife, if you use your imagination. Yes. Already we've had some examples, like for example, well, I won't carry on about that, but we call it the Wonder pencil. Anyway, anything? His Royal Hanorak. Anything you want to say before we end the show?
No, not much at all. Just thank you to everyone who's listened in, and it's been another interesting show. I was looking at a comment from Steve earlier on that said we need a show on fake space and fake satellites. I'd happily join that one.
make a note of that as soon as the show I will. And we've got a lot coming up, which is really, we've got quite a full packed calendar, and I'll have to send an updated show schedule to you both. I simply haven't done it. I've run out of time. But anyway, thank you very much for coming on the show. It's been a fantastic show. And yes, he likes advertising his Guinness. That's it. Yes. And what? And
It's St. Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's Day. That's right. And what we got coming up next week? Oh, we better see what's coming up next week. And I've forgotten. Oh, Deb's coming on next week, isn't she? 24th, I think it is, isn't it? 24th. Yes, Deb should be on. So whatever happens, always remember, have a bloody good laugh and good night. Thank you very much for watching the show. And if you could kindly put the thumbs up, I'd be really grateful. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do. It doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps a lot. And of course, if you're feeling a little bit generous, you could always buy me a coffee. Details are down in the description box. And also, why not pop in to see my Telegram channel, which again is down in the description box, which you can link onto, and Facebook as well. And thank you very much. And either good night, good morning, or good afternoon.